So I've got my usual setup with my mat on the floor and my bolster to get my hips a little bit higher than my knees, because that makes sitting really a lot more comfortable for me. You're also welcome to be seated on a chair or leaning up against a wall or anything that works for you to be your most comfortable self as we get settled into yoga class. And maybe you did some yoga over the break, maybe you didn't, doesn't matter either way. If it's been a while, let's really take some extra time to ground ourselves today. So you're finding your sitting bones, and I like to rock back and forth just to really locate where are those sitting bones today. And once you've got a sense of them, starting to find a little stillness and feel that those sitting bones are anchoring you to ground. And maybe your spine is then sending you length all the way up through the crown of your head. So we're grounded through our sitting bones. If you're sitting on a chair, you might also be grounded through your feet. And we're lengthened through our spines all the way up past the crown of our heads. And if you're comfortable, close your eyes and just be here for a few breaths. Notice your own breathing. You don't have to change it in any way. Just watch and observe yourself breathing here for a moment. And let this be a time of checking in with yourself. So what are you experiencing? What do you notice about your physical body just now? Are there muscles that you're aware of or parts of the body that feel stiff or sore or really well? And how are you feeling emotionally? What feelings are present for you just now? And check in with your mind. Does the mind feel fast or slow today? Busy or more settled? What do you notice about your mind just now? And if you have any kind of a spiritual practice or have a sense of spirit within yourself, you might also check in there. Spiritually, how are you today? And then let go of all those things you've noticed, remembering we practice non-judgment in yoga, so there's no good or bad. There's no making meaning of any of those things you've just noticed. Letting go of all that, let's just take a couple of breaths as a whole self. Acknowledging yourself for choosing to practice yoga today. We'll take one more breath, and then we'll come back. Lovely. Let's take the thumb of one hand into the palm of the other hand. And inhale as you raise your arms up above your head. And exhale, leaving your shoulders loose and low. Today we'll inhale through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. Warming up the fingers, get a lovely bit of friction there between your hands and fingers, palms. 2 breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. We'll bring the arms up, and then you decide, is it comfortable to take the hands behind your neck, or is it better for you to keep the hands more in front of the neck? Both are great. Take your 2 breaths there. Full extension with the hands reaching skyward as you breathe in. And then gently, slowly bringing hands towards heart, breathing out. And a breath out. Excellent. Today, we're not going to sit too long just yet because we need to stretch our legs out so that we'll be able to sit a little longer. So let's move to standing. Help yourself to water anytime. Make sure that that's close by. And we're moving slowly because it's still morning. We maybe haven't warmed our bodies up very much yet on a Sunday. And let's ground our feet just like we grounded our sitting bones when we were sitting. Our feet are now our point of contact with the earth. Spread the toes of one foot as you lift them off the ground and see if you've got the mind-toe connection to tell each toe to go down one at a time, starting with the pinky toe. So the pinky toe goes down and then the next toe. Don't worry if it's tricky. It's just an exercise in getting our mind and body connected. Lift the toes of the other foot. And same thing, get the mind to tell the pinky toe to go down, and then the next and the next. And then see if you can feel your 5 toes grounding you, but also the 4 corners of each foot. So think about where that might be, kind of 2 on either side of your heel. And I don't usually think about the corners as the toes, but rather more along the ball of the foot. None of this matters very much. The idea is to get a little grounded, feeling our feet connecting us to the floor. Then get a little bit of activation in the core, a tiny bit of core work, a little squeeze. And then lift that spine nice and tall all the way up through the crown of the head, standing tall here for 2 big breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And we're breathing all the way out each time. All that air exhaled. Emptying your lungs completely. We're standing with great posture here, and we're going to keep that good position. The only part of the body that's about to move is the neck. Lift one ear towards the sky. The other ear be pointed down at your shoulder. And let's take 2 big breaths here. Hopefully this doesn't feel like work. We're letting go of tension in the neck for 2 breaths. We're not forcing this movement, just allowing it to happen. Leaving our shoulders relaxed. And after 2 breaths, take the head back to center and then over to the other side. The other ear is pointed up towards the sky. Your nose and your chin continue to point forward. 2 big breaths. And because many of us carry tension in our necks, we're going to do each side again. So we get a little bit more time to release that neck. So go back to the first side. Breathing in through the nose. And all the way out through the mouth. Maybe starting to notice that the breath can get as deep as the diaphragm. Maybe your belly moves a little bit with each breath. And when you're ready, over to the second side. Letting go of any tension that you're finding. Coming back to center, and now we'll take the head side to side by, again, just moving the neck. Now you're looking at a spot on the side wall for 2 big breaths. In through the nose, all the way out through the mouth. Remaining tall up through the crown of your head. When that feels complete, over to the other side. Find a spot on the other wall for 2 big breaths. Perhaps engaging the diaphragm and breathing. After your 2 breaths, bring the head back to center. And again, it's only the neck that moves to bring your chin toward your chest. So we're staying at full height with our shoulders. Just the head tips forward. Maybe the chin connects with the chest or close to it. And 3 breaths as we hang the head here. Can you let go of anything? And slowly walking the eyes across the floor, up the opposite wall, and across the ceiling, just as far as your head wants to take you. We're going to open the mouth for a big open-mouthed breath. Releasing the jaw. And slowly walk the eyes back until your chin is on or close to your chest. Again, for 2 more breaths. Another opportunity to let go through the back of the neck or wherever else needs it. Interlace your fingers in front of you. Look into your palms and keep looking into the palms as you inhale and raise your arms above your head. Return your head to center, exhale and release the arms to your sides. And give it all a good shake. Wonderful. Maybe shake up your legs, they've been staying still for a bit. Let's roll the shoulders a little. I'm rolling from front to back. Just breathing naturally. And then change the direction. Let's roll the shoulders around the front. And breathe. And then roll them around the back and let them drop way down. Let your shoulder blades slide down your back. Fantastic. And let's do a little side stretch now. Bring one arm all the way up to your ear. We're going to breathe in, reaching up and a little bit over. And you might notice some tension in your low back as you find the right place. So feel free to put your hand on your waist or hip for a little extra support. And to contract your core a little bit. Little Kegel, little low abdominals will also secure and support your spine. And I'm just going to change my camera angle a little bit as you hold and breathe there. Bring that arm back down. Take the other arm up. So all of this is exploring what's happening in your body. So for you, how does it feel when you reach up towards the sky and take a couple of breaths? And does it feel any different if you reach a little bit more over? So you've already reached up. Do you also want to reach over? What happens for your body when you do that? Do you need the support of your other hand on your waist or hip? Or do you want to go back to maybe just reaching up? So this is always your practice. I'm giving you a few possibilities. I invite you to find the one that works best for you today. And then come on back to center. Excellent. Bring an arm across the body. We're going to use the bottom arm to hold up the elbow and give it a little pull. So we're pulling the arm across the body and dropping both shoulders down for 2 big breaths. And letting that go and taking the other arm, holding up the elbow of the other arm, giving a pull across the body, dropping both shoulders down. Breathing out fully for each of 2 breaths. Good. And then interlacing behind you, your fingers are going to interlace. You're going to pull the wrists apart from each other. And then standing tall, your body will tell you how much are your arms able to move up and away from the body. Maybe it's not very much at all. Maybe they're hugging pretty close today. Or maybe you're feeling expansive across your chest and you're able to move them a bit. Find what works for you and take 2 big breaths more. Let's release the fingers and give yourself a hug. Shoulders nice and low. Lock your hips in place so that you're moving at the waist. Starting to warm up the back. Some gentle breathing into your low back here. We've got one arm that rests on top of the other. We're going to switch them. So open the arms, switch. And again, keeping the hips still. We're breathing into the low back. Beautiful. All right, shake up those legs. And we'll start our forward release now. So we like to plant those feet again. Just like you did earlier, you're grounding your feet right down into the earth. Standing nice and tall, shoulders low, heart lifted a little, neck easy. Take a big breath here in mountain pose. Drop your chin towards your chest for a forward release. Now, depending on how your back is today, you might only go a little way. We're rounding ourselves down. Or if your back is feeling good and this feels good in your body, you might go all the way down slowly, where eventually your fingers will touch your toes or touch the floor. So we're using our breath to check in. What do you notice as you start to round forward, release down? How's the upper back when you're in that position? Does your back want you to keep going, or does it want you to stop and go back up a little higher? Keep noticing. What is your body telling you now? And some of you might get to the point where you are touching the floor or touching your toes. If it feels right to you, you can hold your hands at your elbows and let your head dangle a little lower. And if it feels right, we can add a stretch for the legs here. We only do one leg at a time because that's a little gentler on the back. So if you're willing, try straightening one leg and holding for one breath. And bend your knees again and straighten the other leg for a breath. My hamstrings are always my tight area, so I notice this a lot. So if you liked that, go back and forth again. We're going to come back to standing in a very slow way. So loosening the arms, letting them dangle, contracting the core, squeezing your kegels, squeezing your low abdominals, and then very slowly rising up, using the strength of your core to support you. Breathing as needed, still noticing, what do you feel in your body? What do you become aware of as we bring ourselves up? Eventually, your shoulders will get to their full height, and your head will be the last part of you to float forward. Excellent. I invite you to warm up your fingers, feel a little friction there, and then place first your warmed fingers on your eyes gently. Take a breath there. And then use your healing fingers for self-massage. Is there any tension that you're carrying in your forehead or your temples or your jaw? Any places that need a little gentle pressure to release? Excellent. And because we rounded ourselves one way, we need to do the opposite. Take your gentle fist, punching side of the gentle fist into the low back with both fists. Bring the elbows toward each other. And this is not a back bend. Remember, we're just keeping the back where it is. Only the neck and head are going to look up with an open mouth, released jaw, and take 3 breaths. Walk the eyes back. Shake out the arms and grab your sip of water. Just notice, how's the body feeling at this point? We are going to begin to do a few more grippy things with our feet. So if you haven't yet, let go of your socks. Do that now. And we're going to do a standing eagle with the balance part, if that works for you. So ground your feet. Let the feet grow roots into the earth. With them grounded, let's try some eagle arms. So bring one arm across the body. See what happens when you take the other arm way around the tricep. Is there any way of your fingers touching your palm? And I'll come a little closer. So in an eagle pose, we're trying to get the fingers of one hand to touch the palm of the other hand with both your thumbs pointed towards your nose. But not everybody's arms will allow for that. So if that doesn't work for you, totally good to just do the hold the elbow and pull the arm across, because you're getting the stretch in the same part of the body. Whichever one you've chosen, let's now take a breath as you pull your elbows a little bit away from your chest. And then lift your elbows to shoulder height and pull them away still for a breath. Bring your elbows back down, and we'll add balance by crossing one leg over the other, sitting low, bending both your knees, keeping the back fairly straight. You want to lock eyes on an eye focus. So find something that you can just stare at with your eyes to hold you balanced, and then see if you can test your balance by taking your toes off the floor, even for a second. We're doing a total of 3 breaths here. And stand back up. Shake out those arms. And see if you can do the other side. So other arm across. I don't remember which side I did. The arm you haven't used yet goes underneath. Fingers touching palm. Thumbs pointed at your nose. Pull your elbows away and take a big breath. Lift your elbows to shoulder height, pulling the elbows away from the body and breathe. Bring the elbows back down. We'll add the balance, crossing the other leg, whatever one you didn't cross the first time. Sit low, tuck in your chin. Lock your eyes on an eye focus and test your balance. Excellent. Stand back up. Well done. Give it all a big shake. We'll do one more balance pose today, and that is crossing one leg over the other leg. Both feet are going to stay on the floor for this balance, but you're just going to have this cross-legged motion. And you're going to take, so it might help to do the same leg as me, just because I'm going to call out some rights and lefts. So I am crossing my right leg over my left so that my right knee is in front. I'm going to take my right hand and put it behind me as though it's tucking into an imaginary back pocket on the left side. So my right hand tucks into an imaginary back pocket on the left side. I'm going to walk eyes on my eye focus to stay balanced, and I'm going to tip towards the left. And breathe. I love this one. I get a beautiful stretch in my hip, but I've met folks who feel nothing as they do this. So just notice what it is for you. And bring yourself back up, shake it out. Cross the other way. So I've got my left leg crossed with my left knee in front. My left hand is behind me, tucking into an imaginary back pocket on the opposite side. And I'm tipping now towards the right, keeping my eyes focused. And 3 breaths. And coming back up. Wonderful. Let's take a small step forward. We've got the front knee bent and the back leg mostly straight. Whatever knee is forward for you, it's the opposite arm that's now going to bend so that the elbow, the opposite elbow as your forward knee, is the one that's up. Then we're going to take the other hand that's not used yet and push on that elbow to encourage some opening here through the arm, through the shoulders. Let's hold 3 breaths. Breathing out fully each time. And open the elbows nice and wide. Spread your fingers wide. Drop your shoulders down. And take 3 more breaths. Feeling expansive from one elbow to the other. Bring those elbows in and we'll change the legs. Step the other leg forward. Opposite arm gets to bend. Give a push on that elbow for 3 breaths. We're bending the front knee a little bit more. Pressing the back heel into the floor a little bit more. Imagine lowering your center of gravity a little bit. And then open those elbows nice and wide. Spread your fingers so that even the fingers are active here. Shoulders are low. We're breathing. We are making room for your big, beautiful hearts. Being expansive across the chest. And pull it in. Shake it all out. Well done. Let's get into our legs. So we're going to point one foot, one set of toes at the short end of your mat and bend through that knee. Adjust a little bit. So you're bending one knee and you get to decide how much do I want to bend that knee. You do a few bends and straightens. If we're positioning our legs well, we're imagining that we're drawing a line, imaginary line from the heel of the foot you just placed to the instep of the other foot. So that might cause you to change position a little bit. And again, see how it is to bend and straighten a little. And then find the amount of bend in the knee that feels like a good stretch. Not too much, not too little, just right. And open up those arms. Drop your shoulders down. Look past your set of fingers that are hovering above the bent knee and take 3 breaths. What do you notice? What are you feeling? Especially if you haven't done this one in a while. I haven't done this one in a while. I'm feeling it. Now we're going to tip and land a forearm on the thigh that's attached to that bent knee. Take the free arm and reach above your head so that you're making a really long line of your body from your far heel all the way up through these top fingers for 3 breaths. What do you notice? Do you need to shift this position in any way to make it better for your body today? Take the top hand skyward. If your back needs extra support, keep the arm rested on the knee or the thigh. If your back feels strong, you can open the bottom arm and get long again from one elbow to the other. And breathe. I'm going to take that top arm, swish it past your face, and bring, if you can, both hands to land on the ground beside your foot. Or if that feels like going too far, you might use a chair here and put your hands on a piece of furniture or on a chair, essentially bringing the ground a little closer to you. So you choose. We're going to turn all our toes to face forward. And keeping all knees off the ground. We're holding here for 3 breaths. And noticing this position. What do you feel? Which parts of your body are you most aware of as you hold this shape? If you've brought your hands all the way to the floor, then now gently bring your knee down to the ground as well. And of course, you're always welcome to be protective of the knee. You can pop your knee onto a pair of socks or fold up your mat a little bit so that you've got a double mat under that knee. If you are using the chair, I'll grab my chair. Then it depends how high your chair is. Maybe that knee is still able to come to the ground, or maybe that's going to be a challenge for you. And you're going to just stay in the position using the chair, but maybe adjust something. See how it is to bring the feet closer together or further apart. And where in the body do you feel a stretch just by moving the position of the feet? If you're all the way on the ground, got the back knee down, we're pointing the back toes, maybe scooting the front toes forward a little bit. And looking for a position we can hold for most release. So we don't want this to be so intense that you just can't wait to get out of it. You want it to be a little stretchy. You want to feel it. However, you want to be able to hold here for several breaths. So if you need to modify it, go ahead. Change something so that you can just be present here. What do you notice as you hold a few breaths? Does your awareness shift or change? Are the places in your body that make themselves known? They do that in a different way the longer you hold. Let's do one more breath here. And invitation is to walk your hands back, straightening out that front leg. If you're using the chair, same thing. You're just trying to now straighten the front leg, even from the standing position, hands on chair, so that we can get into the hamstring of this front leg. Good. Let's hold a couple of breaths here. What do you notice? For some, legs can be so tight that straightening is not possible. You might need to have a bend in your knee. That's okay, as long as you're finding a little bit of length in the hamstring. One more breath. Excellent. So we did all of that using your one leg. So just acknowledge which leg is forward. Thank it for all its work. We're about to stand and use the other leg. Come to standing any way that works for you. And we're going to shift it so that it's the other foot now pointed at the end of the mat, short end of the mat. Bending that other knee. Taking a look at our alignment. So that imaginary line from the heel of the foot pointed at the short end through to the instep of the other foot. Finding how much bend feels right on this side. Playing with that. And once you've got your spot, opening up those arms, dropping shoulders down, looking past fingers for 3 breaths. You notice a difference on this side from the first side. And we'll do that little tip, resting forearm onto the thigh that's attached to the bent knee. The other arm, the one that's not used, reaches past the head so that you are a long, long line from your far toes to your top fingers for 3 breaths. And we're trying to extend both sides of the body. So even though this pose easily focuses on the top side of you, you also have an underside, and it can get lengthened in this position as well. Take that top hand skyward. Knowing your own back, you decide if you'd like the support of the arm on thigh, or you're going to open that arm forward. Get long from elbow to elbow as you breathe. Take the top hand and swish it past your face. Making the decision again, whether you'd like both hands to come all the way down to the floor, or if you're going to use a chair or a piece of furniture. Turn all your toes to face forward. And let's hang out here for 3 breaths. And what do you notice on this side? Here's where we'll bring that back knee down to the floor. Welcome to give the knee a little extra cushioning, whatever way you'd like to do that. And adjust this pose so that we can hold it for about a minute. So make any tiny adjustments so that you are feeling a good stretch, but it's not so much that it's causing you to hold your breath or contort your face or lock your jaw. Those are all clues that you're doing too much. You want to release the jaw. Be able to just hold and breathe here, feeling the body starting to open up in new ways, new places. One more breath. And if you've got your hands on the floor, we'll now walk them back towards the back knee, lengthening the front leg. If you're using the chair, then you're, again, just adjusting so that you can lengthen the front leg even in the standing position. Getting a stretch there for the back of that leg. Excellent. Let's bring ourselves to a hands and knees position. So if you're using a chair and you're able to get down to hands and knees on the floor, this is a great time to do that. If for whatever reason, hands and knees isn't going to work for you today, we're about to do a cat-cow. So go ahead. Those of you who know how to round and arch your spine, go into it. That can be done sitting on a chair. So just a reminder, being on the floor is tough today. Sitting on a chair, you can still round your spine like we do in cat-cow and arch by gazing upward, bringing the shoulders back, changing the shape of your spine back and forth. So many of our poses can really just be adapted to the chair any day that feels better for you. And let's see if we can merge this movement with our breath. You breathe in as you move one way. Breathe out as you move the other. Coming back to a neutral spine or flat back, I invite you to pull your hips halfway back to your heels and off to one side. And you're just exploring your own body. Where can you be in any position here that feels really good in your low back or into your hips, perhaps? play around until you find a good spot and then take a breath there. And then try the other side. Hips halfway to heels, going off to that other side. Let's do each side again. Good. We're going to go into downward dog if you wish it. Remember, downward dog, you can use the chair as well. So if you'd rather have hands on chair in order to bring the floor closer, all good. Let's spread the fingers wide. Curl the toes to take a little bit of your weight. And if you're feeling it today, start to raise the hips high. First, we're going to push those hips far, far back. So use your strong arms to push your hips as far back as you can push them. Even a little more. Maybe you'll push them a little higher as well, but pushing them far back is really the part that's most important because it lengthens our spine, flattens that spot between our shoulder blades. And then as you're holding here, see how it is to press one heel towards the floor. And then bend that knee and press the other heel towards the floor. So just like in forward release, we always have one knee bent for these opening ones while we're warming up. Breathe as you need to. Excellent. One more time, press both hips as far back as you can get them. And gently bring your knees down to the mat and pull back into pose of child. You have the option of long arms out in front of you, above your head, or resting your head on your hands, or resting your hands by your feet. Your knees can be as wide or as close as feels right for you. And let's hold here for 5 breaths. Round yourself back up. Excellent. Grab a sip of water. We are going to do some core strengthening poses as well. So downward facing dog gets us our arms working as they would in plank. We're also going to do plank though today. So as long as your arms are up for a little more strengthening, we'll place our hands in the same position they just were. Fingers are spread nice and wide. Hands are located underneath your shoulders. And then we'll make some choices about our plank. So you can have full plank with your legs fully extended, or knees down plank where your knees are taking a little bit of the weight of the legs. Both are great. We're strengthening the arms regardless of what you've chosen here. So see how it is, and you might even move back and forth between them. So the position of the hips, if you're doing the full version, sometimes when I'm teaching students in an actual room where I can see you, it can be confusing. Like some students want to get their hips up high like we were in downward facing dog. We're trying to keep the hips parallel to the ground. It's kind of like you're Spine is making a nice long line and staying parallel to the floor. And let's gently bring those knees down if they're not already. And lengthen, we'll just pull back for a moment, lengthening those arms in front of us. Hips toward heels. One breath here. Excellent. Now I invite you to turn over and lay on your back now. Another core strengthener and then Shavasana. Go find your way down to the mat. Laying on your back on the floor, supported by the ground. Now let's take a moment to feel that support of the ground. Allow the body to settle in here. Good. So the first thing to practice, here we are in the new year, we're getting reacquainted with our core, starting with the Kegel. So lots of you used the Kegel and are familiar with how you squeeze it. Just in case you aren't familiar, I am going to describe it. And there's no way to describe it other than to use language that's just a little bit crass. So imagine, what I like to say is that imagine you've gone to give a urine sample. And you know, when you're peeing in that little cup and you're asked to stop the flow of urine, that's the muscle that's at work is your Kegel. The one that can squeeze and stop the flow of urine. That's the one we're trying to get stronger. So take a moment, find that little muscle, give it a squeeze. And we like to think about it squeezing slowly. So often we use the imagery of an elevator. So if your pelvic floor is kind of the base of where all the bones meet at the bottom of, like your pubic bones meet, allow the muscles to be relaxed there, so don't squeeze the Kegel, and imagine that now the elevator is at the bottom of that pelvic floor. And that your goal is to start to squeeze the Kegel slowly, lifting those muscles a little bit higher, like an elevator rising up to the top floor. And then release them back down slowly. Let the elevator back down to the bottom floor. So just go back and forth best you can. It's such a tricky move, such a subtle little set of muscles there. Try that a couple of times. Make sure that your jaw is released. We're not adding any tension anywhere else in the body. Good. Even if it doesn't feel like you're doing it right, you're giving that muscle a little bit of attention, and that's going to make a difference. So now we're going to add to that. So we're going to squeeze that same Kegel muscle. We're also going to imagine pulling these low abdominal muscles, low tummy, towards the spine. So it's giving them a little squeeze. And you can put your hands just on the low abdomen. Sometimes you can feel when you squeeze your Kegel, I feel that automatically those low abdominal muscles engage. And that's good. We want them to work together. So maybe you'll notice that with your fingers, maybe you won't. Either way, see if you can squeeze now your Kegel, your low abdominal muscles, and your low back muscles. You might be a little less aware of those ones, or I am at least. But if you just even tell yourself to do all three, something will be happening. So squeeze, Kegel, low abdominals, low back, and now lift one leg up. And now lift the other leg up. And zip your knees together so that knees are touching and the feet, sides of your inside of your feet are also touching. Good. Keeping everything in the core squeezed, we're going to do a little toe tap. So now pulling those legs back apart, take your right toe towards the floor and then gently bringing that leg back up. We're going to do the right toe 5 times. You don't have to touch the ground. That's not the important part. The important part is doing this motion and then using those core muscles to bring the leg back to where it started. So whether you touch floor or not, see if you can engage those core muscles to bring the leg back up each time. Good, let's do the other side. If any of this feels too grippy, where by doing this movement, you're starting to get really tight or really sore in maybe like the hip flexor muscles, then just take a break. We're not trying to add any tension anywhere else. We just have more opening to do through those hip flexors is what that means. Okay, last time, let's pull the knees in, take a little break, rock side to side, let everything go. If it felt okay to do each leg individually, we're now going to attempt to do both legs toe tap. So squeezing again, Kegel, low abdominals, low back, with the core engaged like that. Let's raise one leg up, bring the other leg up and zip them together. Knees touching, inside of feet touching. Keep the core nice and strong, and we'll try a double toe tap. And again, it doesn't matter if you make it all the way to the floor. It's this motion of moving the legs away and then using the core to bring them back up. That's the important part. So you're especially engaging the Kegel as you bring the legs back to that top position. Breathing, of course. Good. Hug the knees in. Rock side to side. And that's plenty of strengthening for today. Let's get ready for Shavasana. You're already laying down. So those of you who like to do Shavasana laying on the floor, just add your warmer layers perhaps. Other option is to do Shavasana seated, either on a chair or like we started the class, maybe up on a bolster. Whatever sitting position is comfortable for you. And because we're still for a little bit of time here, you may need to get a little warmer so that you're as comfortable as you can be. So taking a few moments just to get ourselves ready. So as you're settling in, I'm going to mention I came across a new meditation that struck me as a good one to use for this Shavasana today. And it's about managing our own energy. And it's a meditation provided by Sally Kempton. And the idea is, and I'm not sure if some of you noticed this, but for me this week, as I went back to work and I had done a lot of visiting with folks over the holidays, I could feel that there was more energy output getting back into routine than there had been during the week prior when we were a little more resting through the holidays. So we all have times where life demands a little bit more outward energy output, and times where we can bring ourselves in and do self-care and be a bit more introspective. So this practice that I'm offering up today as part of Shavasana works with that idea. And it's going to offer up the opportunity to build a protective shield that draws our energy back in so that it's available to us for the next time we need output. So Sally Kempton says this, just as we're thinking about it. Don't worry if you don't feel you're fully able to do this, and don't worry that managing this energy will cut you off from the people you love. On the contrary, this practice will let you gather your forces to meet the people in your life from a more centered place. So we're working through this practice about being vulnerable, yet still safe within our own energetic body. So I invite you to lay or sit as comfortably as you can. Ensure that your spine is long in whatever position you've chosen. And that you're noticing your connection to ground. Whatever parts of you are connected to ground, make note of them here. Take a couple of breaths, arriving for Shavasana. Notice if you can feel or hear or sense your heart beating. If that's a challenge today, just imagine the pace of your heartbeat. If it feels right to you today, imagine making more room for your heart to be all the things that it is. Sometimes vulnerable, sometimes loving, sometimes hurt or sad. Imagine softening the armor that we put around our hearts, allowing ourselves to be more open, more vulnerable. Just here, just for this moment now. As we seek balance between vulnerability and protecting our own energy, I invite you to imagine yourself drawing in the energies that you've given out this week. We're going to imagine pulling back the energy that has gone into all of your interactions, any chatting or conversations you've had, any encounters at work, any distractions from your week, or the emotional pull of others. Don't worry if you don't feel fully able to do this. If you're willing, I invite you to imagine a circle of protective energy around you. One way to do this is to visualize a thick ribbon of light emanating from your heart and wrapping itself around your body like a protective cocoon. I'll read that again. One way to do this is to visualize a thick ribbon of light emanating from your heart and wrapping itself around your body like a comfortable, protective cocoon. Imagine this light ribbon as an energetic shield that lets in energies that belong in your field and keeps out the energies that don't. With awareness at your heart, begin to focus on the breath as it enters and leaves the body. Imagine a window in your chest wall and the breath flowing in and out through the window. With each inhalation, have the thought, I am. With the exhalation, sense the I am in your heart center. We'll do that quietly for a minute. Each breath in, I am. Each breath out, sensing that in your heart. Take 2 more breaths with I am as your focus. And then just breathe comfortably, releasing that I am, letting go of that mantra. Knowing that this practice you just engaged in will give you the strength that you need to open to your own vulnerability without being overwhelmed by it. And now, take 3 easy breaths or sighing breaths. Start to move again through your fingers and your toes. Stretch your body any way that feels good for you just now. I'll lead you through our usual closing. However, if you want to just keep doing yoga poses, ones that you love, you're welcome to keep on at your own practice. If you'd like to close with me, I invite you to roll onto your side, take a moment there, and then push yourself up to sitting. And if you've chosen to sit, you're again finding your connection to the ground. Again, lengthening your spine, keeping your neck nice and gentle, shoulders easy. And let's take a thumb into the other hand and inhale and raise the arms up. Exhale fully through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Hands together. Same thing, those 2 breaths. Hands up and then either behind or in front of your neck. Full extension, breathing in. Slow hands to heart, breathing out. And one more breath in your vulnerable yet protected heart. Namaste.